Once you have the skills of internet marketing, like you could, go into any business and you know what to do. You gotta grow an audience, you gotta engage that audience, you gotta convert that audience.
Hey everyone, welcome back after a very long time to another episode of the Steele Entrepreneur Show. This is episode 41, and with me I have a 9-year veteran of entrepreneurship, and his name is Matt Astifan. He is a social media expert. He is the founder of webfriendly.com. You consult for companies like Tim Hortons, and you teach business professionals how to navigate or negotiate social media marketing. Matt runs the hugely popular Internet Mastermind. Internet Masterminds has 7,000 members, and it is this true? The largest internet marketing meetup group in North America?
On Meetup.com. We're the largest internet marketing meetup on Meetup.com. We're not the largest meetup on Meetup.com,
but the largest internet marketing
in terms of
related
topic,
one.
Internet marketing, absolutely. We're by far the largest.
You've given 100 plus keynotes. I've given 0.
We gotta get you an Internet Mastermind.
I know! And among other things that I've certainly missed, you build online courses and you've enrolled thousands of people in these online courses, which is something I really know nothing about. So I'm excited to learn about that. So I did my best job to explain who you are, but how would you describe yourself both from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective?
I think people mostly know me as a social media trainer. I've been training people, how to use social media since 2009. I would say it was like I started, before Justin Bieber got on Twitter, before Ashton Kutcher, showed Oprah how to use Twitter.
Yeah, you're like the OG.
Yeah, so I got into it at a time where, I was on Twitter and I would tell people about Twitter and they didn't even know what it was. And I'd explain to them this whole concept of Twitter, So, I just used to be really interested in learning about social media. I spent a lot of time reading Mashable and TechCrunch back in 2009. And I thought, if only I can get paid to spend all this time to learn about social media. And this is back in the time too when some of you might remember this, where you would use Twitter to talk about Twitter. You're using social media just to talk about social media. It was kind of that time. So that's kind of my, what most people would see me, what I do professionally. Now we've recently kind of changed from being a training company or an agency to being more like a media company. So we're getting more into.
What does that look like?
Publishing content. Right now it's written content and video content.
Yeah.
We're actually going through all of our library of content and just putting it out there and making it more available and more free.
Well, you must have so much given all the events that you've run, and you always have cameras at those, don't you?
We do, yeah. So we've got, I think it was something like 86 videos that we've recorded over, I don't know what period of time. So we're chopping them up into clips, putting them on YouTube. So we're looking at a few hundred videos there. Okay. I had someone go through some of my programs, watch it, and then basically turn different parts of what I'm saying within my trainings into blog posts. So if you actually go to webfriendly.com now, you read those blog posts, that's all stuff coming from our training material.
So you're repurposing the content essentially.
Yeah, so far we have, I think it was 78 blog articles in the queue, producing over 200 videos right now. And so once we get all that stuff out, that's probably gonna take us about a year or two by the time we get it all out. Let's call it a year and a half. I'm hoping then we have enough traction, enough traffic, and I want to start producing things like mini documentaries, about internet marketers or internet entrepreneurs, and go back to my my film roots. I used to study film and doing more stuff with film, stuff like that. So, kind of if you look at what Netflix is doing now, right? First they were kind of showing you other people's content. Now they're getting into producing their own unique content. So that's kind of how we're looking at our company now.
Are you using any of that for your own marketing? Are you using any of that content that you created a long time ago and then sort of running ads against that and that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. So in order to get traffic initially, we're probably going to be doing some ads, either native ads and also, boosted posts on Facebook, Twitter, that sort of thing. We're using promoted content through different platforms we could talk about afterwards. Instead of running ads for other people's things or using AdSense, we're advertising our own products. So we already have, at the moment, we've got 9 products that we offer. So when people go through our content and opt into our stuff, they'll eventually see offers for some of our trainings and our programs and our services.
And what kind of training programs are these?
Primarily, social media based.
Yeah.
We're looking into getting into other areas of basically internet entrepreneurship. So like basically how to have an online business. One thing, my girlfriend's getting into now is Amazon, right? Mm-hmm. And I know nothing about Amazon. I tell people that I don't know e-commerce at all, but it's very interesting. She's just playing around with it, and she's already doing, I think, $3,000-$4,000 a month on Amazon. So, I'm interested to get into it, learn a bit more about it. Maybe we find somebody else we partner with, and but basically, our goal is to help people become better internet entrepreneurs. Right now, our courses are primarily focused around internet marketing, so how to be an internet marketer and have an internet business that way. I think that's the best way to go about it for someone first starting, because that way you learn internet marketing, do it for a couple of years, and then decide, you want to start another business, and you use those skills to basically grow that business, right?
See, I went the other way around. I thought I didn't learn the internet marketing. I just said, I'm going to start a business, and then I'm going to learn internet marketing.
I see.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
I did it the total wrong
The thing is, like, once you have the skills of internet marketing, like, you could, go into any business and you know what to do. You got to grow an audience, you got to engage that audience, you got to convert that audience, So, that's basically it.
Makes sense. I was talking to, as you know, part of my process is to interview people that both on sort of the business side of things, but also the personal side of things. And one of the dudes, Lucas Mattiello, I always mess up his name. He was on episode 31, and he said, he speaks so highly of you. One of the things that struck me was he said, Matt has been doing this for 9 years. And he's been making great progress, but it's this year, it's the year to come. He's hitting his stride. He's finally, all the pieces are kind of coming together. What do you think he meant by that?
Well, I think before I was always into having a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
Digital nomad, travel the world on my laptop. I did. I hit
all the flexibilities.
Yeah, and that's what I was about, and I've never really been about like I want to make millions of dollars and stuff, because when I had
who would want that?
You want money, but it's like if your only goal is just to make money, and then you have money, it's like once you have, I think there's even a stat on this, like once you make over like $70,000, more money doesn't equal more happiness, So it's kind of like I thought about it as like, what do I actually want in life? And the things that I actually wanted didn't cost significantly more money. Like I wanted to go and travel to Thailand for 5 weeks. That whole trip was like, I don't know, all said and done, $2,500. I don't, you know what I mean?
So you don't need to.
You don't got to save up for 10 years to go and do that kind of stuff, right? So I was always like, lifestyle business where, I think now I just had a baby. He's almost 2 years old, and
almost 2.
Yeah, in a few months he'll be 2 years old, and so, now I'm looking to build, a business, and I want to grow it to $1 million, eventually get to 10 million and beyond, and it's more like sport. It's like, I feel like, I know what's going on in the online marketing world. I know how to be an entrepreneur, and
What does a business look like to you?
In a year?
No, just what does a business look like to you? I kind of want to contrast the lifestyle business to a business. Like, how do you contrast the two?
So I think with a lifestyle business, you could very easily make like 6 figures, consulting, teaching, coaching.
Sure.
Now, we're doing more kind of like mentorship. We're looking at things more in mentorship. I've kind of got away from, selling videos and saying good luck to here's a set of videos, and also let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can make this work for you. I'm kind of thinking more long term. But in terms of like what I want, my business to look like, and what I think a real business looks like, is, if I wanted to go, like for example, when I went away for 5 weeks to Thailand, I still had some revenue coming in. I worked very few hours my entire trip there, but I wasn't making a whole lot of money while I was away. I want to make it so that way, I'm creating, an engine and a machine that can work without me. And I've really been able, and this was really hard for me as well as an entrepreneur, is be able to take myself away from a lot of the tasks. I used to run all of our ads.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, I can find someone who could do our ads for us, even though I teach people how to run ads and I know how to run ads. But in terms of timing and all the other pieces that I want to put together, it's not, my best use of time to run the ads myself, right? I could write content, but I can also find great writers, right? So it's just about basically building a team of people and just letting go of, I always, my first, 7 years of business, I always felt like nobody could do things better than I could do them. So I had to do them myself.
Huh.
So it's like
Story of my life.
It was, yeah. So
I'm still figuring that one out.
Yeah, so I've really let go a lot and just created more processes, more automations. I think your business will grow when you make a bigger impact. We're all about creating real results for people. So that's our main focus. And I think that as you create more results, organically, your business will just grow.
You talked about the Facebook ads, and this is something that I'm somewhat new to. I hadn't run a lot of ads previously, and then when I started this show, I got a little bit more serious about it. And so it's been a sharp learning curve for me. It's been a sharp learning curve for my team. And I guess I'm curious what my team should expect from Facebook ads, say a year or two down the road. Like, you've spent so much time, you've seen the changes that Facebook has undergone in their ad platform, to their algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. If you had to make some predictions, what sort of changes will impact business owners and ad users in the next sort of 1 to 2 years?
Well, for one, ad costs are going up, right? Google AdWords as a platform is, I believe, 10 years older or 15 years older than Facebook.
Yeah.
It costs more. It's more established, right? Just like if you look at, you want to advertise on TV or a billboard, that kind of stuff has been around for decades. Therefore, it's exponentially more. They've got a lot more customers, right?
Yeah.
So, definitely the price is going up. So, there's no better time to get into Facebook ads and learning it than now. It's, I've been using Facebook ads since they very first launched, right?
What was the cost per click back then, generally speaking, compared to what it is? I know it varies, but like, how much has it changed?
I remember on average like 25 cents a click kind of thing.
And
right?
nowadays?
And you used to get likes for like fractions of pennies, that sort of thing. Now, I mean, it depends on your campaign. You could definitely optimize a campaign and that's all about how you build up. There's different stages of an ad campaign, which I don't know if we want to get into, but stage one you might spend.
I do want to get into. I want to learn.
Stage one you might spend $1 per click, right? As someone gets more and more engaged and you grow into smaller and smaller audiences.
Like, you segment your audiences kind of
based
thing,
on how engaged they are, right?
Okay.
And so by the time they're actually seeing the offer, your cost per click would be much lower because you've already pre-engaged them, right?
Gotcha.
But then of course if you were just average it out, I mean, you're probably spending, I don't know. It really depends. You can't say it's going to cost you.
But it's quite a bit more expensive than it was previously.
Absolutely, yeah. But you also now have so many more targeting options.
That's true.
Right. So it's like we could look at surface level just like cost per click, but then when you get into cost per acquisition, cost per sale, the value of the sale, how much people are willing to spend today versus 9 years ago or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of factors in there to say but for sure. The cost of advertising is going to go up. Hopefully, the amount of targeting and Facebook's got a lot smarter in terms of finding your customers. Now they do similar audiences. They've been doing that for a long time.
They call that lookalike? Is that what they call that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lookalike audiences. They could do. Once you have a certain amount of conversions and you've gotten a certain amount of customers, they could start profiling what those people are like to finding more people like them. And then you could say, hey, Facebook, I will pay $10 for every person you bring me, or $20, whatever the price point is, right?
Yeah. And
they just go out and they find you all the low-hanging fruit, right? So it's like those algorithms that they're building, so if the cost does go up higher, but you know how to use the platform, you know how to use the technology.
So much more power.
Yeah, so it might actually eventually make the cost per acquisition lower. Who knows, right?
Yeah. What metrics do you are kind of king for you?
Well, it's going to be either depending on goals, but typically our back end and our funnels convert really well, right? So we know that if we get a qualified person to basically get into our community, right, they're going to buy something, right?
Would you call that a cost per acquisition?
That'd be the cost per acquisition, right?
Okay.
Typically when we're running our ads, we are just looking for our cost per opt-in, right?
Yeah.
Or that could be our
cost
acquisition.
per email.
Yeah, just to get somebody to opt in. but it would depend on your goals of what you're trying to achieve, right? For me, I look at it two separate things, right? Because like, how much was it to get them, into our community, and then everything else in the back end looks at, the value after they buy the first thing, and then how, we want to increase the lifetime value. So I look at it as two separate things, but different businesses will look at it different ways depending on your goals, right?
So you look at CPA, or cost per acquisition, and then you would look at probably long-term or LTV of that acquisition.
That's
so
right.
What did they actually end up turning into somewhere in the future?
Exactly.
How do you, and I'm kind of going on a tangent here because I'm super curious about this because we aren't great at this. How do you measure lifetime value, or it's lifetime value, LTV?
Yeah.
How do you measure that once they've already signed up? Is that just using
a few ways.
their email? Or?
So originally I was, we're also doing it actually through ActiveCampaign.
What's that?
ActiveCampaign is like our email automation software.
Okay.
So I've gotten really deep into it. We built big automations inside there. So basically now someone will get into our community, and then it'll just launch an offer to them. Throughout time. It spreads it out over time.
So like a drip campaign type thing?
It's basically like a drip campaign, but basically the way we looked at it was for every one of our products, we have what's called a lead magnet, which is going to be like a free thing that we'll give away, maybe even a secondary free thing that we're going to give away before we actually make them an offer to buy.
You know who the king of this is? Ryan Dice. Have you checked out
Ryan Dice? Yeah, Ryan Dice has the machine. Ours is similar to the machine. It's adapted.
So his product is called the Machine. That's his.
That was
process
his that was his. Well, he put out a course a long time ago called the Machine, which is basically, but it's a little bit different. We don't have the exact same sort of setup, but I got the idea of our current setup from that process. I didn't actually take that course. I talked to somebody else who I just got the concept of it, right? I took ideas from different places.
Yeah, so I signed up for his, and then I was like, and then I got the emails over like, I don't know, a month or something like that, and I just took notes from each one of those emails. What's he doing there?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's he doing with that title, or what's he doing with this?
Well, the copy in the emails is one thing, but it's like building out the automations. I don't follow
I find
it
it to be kind of like in your face and like really full of energy, and sometimes it comes off just as a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I take a different approach on email. I'm a lot more conversational. I encourage people to respond to emails. I actually spend a lot of time responding to people who respond to our emails. The emails are automated, but if you ever hit reply to it, like that's actually coming to me.
Dang.
Yeah, so I respond to.
What do you use to? And I'll move on past this because I'm just trying to. I'm looking for stuff that I can apply tomorrow, basically.
Yeah.
So when that email comes back to you, does it just go into your Gmail, or do you have some sort of
just comes to just Gmail?
Okay.
Yeah. My favorite ones to reply to are one that says "re," and then there's one of my creative subject lines, and I know someone responded. Yeah. Right. We have an email. If you join our list, no matter how you join our list, right, and you're inside of our community. You're going to get a welcome email, and then an hour later, it's going to send you an email and just ask you a few questions about you and your business. Yeah. Just, I can't remember exactly how I wrote it out, but it's basically like, hey, just tell me about your business, who is your customer, and like, what do you offer? Yeah. Right. And the reason why I put that in there was because I want to learn about, who is getting on our list, what kind of products do they sell, what kind of business do they have, right? So, and it asks to just hit reply.
Is that your first email?
If you go, anyone's watching, if you guys want to opt in or whatever, you'll see after 1 hour, you're going to get this email that just says, can you answer these 3 questions for me? You respond to it, I'm going to respond back. I'd be like, hey, thank you, or whatever. And like, there's times where someone says, oh, I'm trying to get into this, and I'm not sure. And I'm like, oh, I just saw this YouTube video last month. You should watch it. And right away, we just start the dialogue.
You start to build trust right away.
Yeah.
Versus like, here's an email, I don't actually give a crap about you. Read my stuff, buy my courses. Instead, you've taken the approach where you're like, hey, I care.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, and I will help you.
Exactly. It's all about, you want to scale the unscalable. If we have millions of people on our list, I can't really do that anymore. Maybe I'll hire somebody full time. There's a lot of value in just understanding who your audience is and kind of where they're at. You know what I mean? Like, it's been huge for me, right? And so, the amount of time it takes me every day is, let's just say, I don't, to check them every single day, but, I'm maybe spending, 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day. Just, I shouldn't say every day again. It's every once in a while going in and responding, looking for the emails and responding to them.
Speaking of trust, you have built, as I mentioned at the top, you've built a community of 7 was it? I want to say 7,200 or 7,300 people on Meetup.com. How did that idea hatch? What got you to do that in the first place?
So for those who are unfamiliar with Meetup, some people don't Meetup is, the social network that's all about taking the online offline.
Meetup.com,
right? Yeah, meet people in person, right? So when I was first getting started, this is back in late 2008, excuse me, and I was wanting to learn internet marketing. I was on Twitter. Someone put out a tweet saying he's going to have a meetup. I had no idea what that was, about WordPress, which I had just heard about, and I thought maybe I should go.
Well, you're way ahead of me. I hadn't heard of WordPress till probably like 2011 or 12.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I go to the meetup, meet some people. It was cool, a little nerdy group, whatever. It was cool, right? And I met this one guy there, Tyrone. Me and him hit it off, became buddies, and then I told him like, hey man, like I had just gotten a hold of this online course. At the time they were DVDs or CD-ROMs or something like that. I can't remember. Traffic Secrets 2.0. Yeah. Right? Anyone's familiar with that course? It was like the first $1 million launch. Sure. Or I think he made $1 million in a weekend or something like that when he first launched his course. So I was really excited to watch this, and then why don't we all come to my place and let's spend the weekend and let's just go through these 12, I think they were CD-ROMs or whatever, right? So we did. We ended up just watching one or two of the discs and then just talking for the rest of the time. And then this one guy was like, we gotta have a mastermind. I'm like, what's a mastermind? He's like, you don't know Think and Grow Rich? And I was like, what's Think and Grow Rich? Right? So he explained to me the concept of a mastermind. And I was like, yes, let's have a mastermind, right? So this is like, Saturday and Sunday.
Rich being Napoleon Hill.
He's the one who kind of, I think, popularized the idea of a mastermind. So, this is like a Saturday and Sunday. Then on the Monday, my buddy, I think he went home on Sunday or Saturday, whatever, put an ad on Craigslist and said, we're starting an Internet Mastermind. Who wants to join?
That's scrappy.
Right?
I like it.
And then he got a response from someone said, hey, we already have a mastermind. Why don't you come out? We meet every Monday night at 7 o'clock. Yeah. So he calls me up. He's like, hey, guy responded to me. 7 o'clock Monday. This is like, we just met Saturday and Sunday. It's like the next day, let's go to this thing. It's at some hair salon, right? Yeah. Some digital hair salon. So, it's one of those times where it's like, you don't really feel like going out. You know what I mean? It's like Monday night, stay home, watch some TV or whatever, or do you go out? And so I was all about, I remember there was this quote that I got early on. There was like, people get ahead during the time that others waste. Right? So I was like, either I'm going to stay home and waste time, or I get ahead and let's see what happens. Let's go meet somebody, right? So I go with him, I'm lost. He was there before me. I'm going there by myself. I walk in. As I walk in, man, the whole room is like on fire, right? They're doing this thing called introductions. Everyone gets up for 30 seconds, say who they are, what they do. As I walked in, a guy named Darren, Jacqueline, some people might know who he is, really charismatic speaker. He's up on, in front of the room speaking, and then I opened the door, and they had this like projector thing coming down, and I opened the door, and I come around the projector, and I'm at the front of the room while this guy's giving this like electrifying, introduction. I'm like stage fright, right? Like, I don't know anyone, I'm, scared, whatever. So I'm embarrassedly like sit down, whatever, and it's packed, nowhere to sit. What's really interesting about that day is that day, like a lot of these internet marketers that I'm now friends with, like they were in that room on that day. Like it's amazing, I won't name drop a whole bunch of people, but basically like all these internet marketing friends happen to be in that room on that day. And so I ended up meeting a lot of people there that I could probably name drop 10 people right now that I'm still friends with today that were in that room then, and just learned so much, right? Just learned so much in that one day. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to be here every single Monday. So Monday after Monday, I kept on going. One day, the guys who were organizing it just didn't show up. The guy who had the hair salon, he was there, but the guys who were like the actual internet marketers showing people around, they just didn't show up. So everyone's like, well, what do we do? And I was like, put out my hand, I'm like, I saw this really good Gary Vaynerchuk video, right? I was like, do you guys know who he is? Everyone's like, no. I'm like, well, he was talking about this thing called Twitter. They're like, what? Well, can you tell us more, right? So I pull out my computer, connected the projector, and I play them this video. Everyone's like, can you teach us more about Twitter, right? At the end of this video. I'd never done any public speaking, but I wanted to. I was looking for like a Toastmasters and stuff, right?
Sure.
So, a week later, I ended up doing my very first talk, which was a talk about how to use Twitter, like 101. And at the time, I knew a lot about Twitter, so, I got really excited about it, and people were like, can you teach us more, right? And then one of the guys there is like, man, you should do like a workshop and charge people for this. So I did. I charged, I think, $300. I rented a boardroom. in a coffee shop, Wade's Coffee, Helen Smythe.
Right? I know the one.
Yeah, and then I did my first workshop, and then went on from there. I think I had 12 people at my first workshop, which for a weekend at the time, that was a lot of money for me. I was really happy, and that's how I kind of got into the whole training business. Yeah.
What do you think the value is for someone thinking of starting their own? Like, what do you think the sort of obvious value is for?
I think with Meetup, so with Meetup, I think that when our Meetup group was small, that those people that we first met were like the strongest connections. Like now I'm like so fixated on I want big events, I want 100 plus people, but it's really about community. I want the same people coming out every Monday night. I don't want to have a different 100 people. If you're doing like a webinar, you're doing like a sales webinar, your goal is basically to have a different 100 people on every webinar because you're going to convert a certain percent. With Meetup, it's community, right? So when we used to do it every single Monday night, like if there was like 40 people there, at least 10 were there every single Monday night, or almost every single Monday night. Out of 40 people, 30 were regulars and 10 were kind of new checking it out. Then we started growing, we got 80 people and so on, and that regularity of those same people coming over and over again, that's what made the Meetup strong. So if you want to start a Meetup group, what you want to do is don't focus on, I got to get a ton, like you want like 5 or 10 people at your first Meetup. And then you want to be consistent. It's every Monday, every second Monday.
Get those same 5 to 10, have them bring a friend.
Yeah, and you need that consistency of like, I remember there was another Meetup I used to go to. It was on the last Thursday of every month.
Yeah.
Something that people can remember, right? So when we were doing every single Monday night, we were doing every single Monday, even when there was a holiday we were doing a Monday. Like it's crazy how many like Mondays I did in a row. Even now, like now I have a hard time doing this, right?
Yeah.
But back then it was like every Monday, internet. Everybody knew every Monday was Internet Masterminds, right? And we grew a real community. And personally, I made a lot of friends from that. I don't think I'd be friends with Lucas today if it wasn't for that. Although I met him somewhere else, but it was because I invited him there. Yeah. He became a regular.
We might not have met.
Yeah, then we, so like, connection-wise, everybody should start a Meetup group. I mean, absolutely, right? There's things that I definitely don't like about Meetup as a platform. I've written to them. I've tried to contact the CEO. I've got a lot of feedback. If Meetup.com, you guys are listening, I made my attempts. Because
talk to Matt.
lot of issues with the platform, and if you are a tech entrepreneur, somebody needs to go and hack Meetup.com and make another. Like I don't know why no one's competing with Meetup.com. If you look at like, Eventbrite for events, they're just about selling tickets. It's like Meetup is different. It's a community, and there's nothing else that's like it. And so,
is it because maybe Facebook kind of has?
Facebook doesn't have one.
It's not the same thing.
No, it's not. Because Facebook has all those other aspects to it. So, I don't know, man. I just like.
Well, maybe you need to be the one to do it.
If I had, I don't know how much Meetup.com would cost to buy, but if I had, a lot of money, if I had Mark Cuban kind of money, I would make an offer to Meetup and I would grow.
What do you think it would cost? What, like 100 million? Something like that? More than that?
I think it's probably, I don't know. I can tell you right now, like even what Meetup.com charges for Meetup organizers, I would pay 10x that. You know what I mean? Like they charge you like, it's like $15 a month.
Sure.
Right? At having 7,000 members, the value of that to me is worth a lot more than $15 a month.
Sure.
So I mean, I still don't care if Meetup fucking hears this because if they did that, maybe they could do more with the platform. So let's not make this a Meetup.com.
See, you organize a lot of other events outside of the Meetups themselves. Not super often, but they're paid events. And I was kind of I recently went to the Man Talks conference. I've been to a couple others sort of around town, and I'm just thinking my worst nightmare would be organizing one of these things, paying for the venue, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody shows up. It's like half full. How do you deal with that possibility?
Yeah,
like mentally, how do you cope with that? Because I'd get there and I just wouldn't feel very good about it.
Very good question, and I don't know. Like for me personally, like I did my Science World events, right? I did 2 Science World events.
It's a big venue.
I rent the IMAX theater. There is 223 seats, which I believe is fire code, and I was like, hopefully I could sell 223. I ended up selling 240 something or 230 something. I can't remember what the number was on the first event, and then like 20% don't show up. And when you're talking about 200 30 people, 20%, it becomes somewhat of an empty
Sure.
room. I was like, damn, I was like, I could have
yeah.
sold more tickets there, right? And I was like, it was like fire code 223. It's like, like maybe there's a few extra people there, but if people were like standing in the back, I can get in trouble kind of thing, right? And I was like, I don't want to sell somebody a ticket and get kicked out or something, So the first time I was nervous about it. Second time we sold 265 and we were still good, And I remember, it was like the first time it was like, can I fill the theater? But because I'd been doing so many meetups and so many events and getting 80 to 100 people coming out to hear, someone who they'd never heard of, just that I introduced. But this time it was like me speaking, doing this workshop. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that I just had like a feeling that the copy was good on the page. The offer was good. The offer was strong. I had lined up some promotional partners on the first event. They didn't bring in a lot of sales. I brought in most of the sales. So my second event, I had no promotional partners and sold even more tickets.
How are you pushing these sales? How are you getting bums in the seat?
Because my Meetup.com list is Vancouver people. So
Sure.
at the time, I probably had 5,000 or 6,000 people on Meetup.
That's going to be helpful.
Yeah, and they're all in Vancouver. And then our actual email list at our company is also very Vancouver based as well. So I think because I've got such a large list of people who are interested in that kind of thing, that I could fill an event. But you can do it through Facebook ads too. Just your cost per getting somebody in the door is going to be much higher. Mm-hmm. So that's okay if you've got an offer to pitch. But I'm doing these events and I'm not really like pitching anything at the end, right? That's not. I'm creating content, right? I do a 4-hour presentation, I record it, and then I have a new course that I can sell online later, right? So, I mean, I've worked with other events, other conferences that kind of were stuck in that place where they were like a week away to the event. They're like, we thought we were going to sell 500 tickets and we've only sold 100.
Yeah.
Can you help us? And then I'll come in there and I don't know, I work on their marketing or whatever, and then sell 200 tickets in a week or whatever. I know we did 100 tickets in a week for one conference. So
where are people profitable there? Like, are the events themselves typically, like, I'm not saying specifically yours or specifically anybody else's, but from what you understand, are they typically profitable, or is it something else that they're selling after?
Okay, if your audience is like businesses, entrepreneurs, and like that kind of thing, if that's kind of the market, I think that you're better off to sell at a higher price and have less people. Sell tickets at a higher price, have less people. I think that'd be profitable because then you don't have to have the expense of having a large venue and all that kind of stuff, right? I think that's the way to go in that avenue. If you want a lot of people at the event and all that kind of stuff, you got to go more corporate sales. All right, so you're getting business people versus entrepreneurs, right?
Okay.
So that was one mistake I saw one conference doing. I tried to tell them, you guys got to double your prices and go corporate. They didn't listen, and I don't think they're doing any more conferences. I've seen other conferences like the Canadian Internet Marketing Conference that was out in Squamish.
Yeah.
It looks like they're doing really well, right? I think they're like $700 tickets. Yep. Yeah. $700, $1,500 is like corporate. Social Media Camp in Victoria, they're doing phenomenally.
They've been going forever. They're awesome.
I think they've been doubling. I talked to them. I think
You've spoken at least one of them.
Yeah, I spoke one time, and I was talking to the organizers, Chris, and he was saying how they were doubling their attendance.
What's Chris's last name? I can't remember.
Borg,
something like Burgess. Yeah.
Nice guy, cool guy. Yeah, I mean they do really well with that. So, but they're selling corporate, right? Their audience is not the entrepreneur, that sort of thing, right? So that would be my take if you're trying to do like a business related event. And the other one is invest in a keynote, right? A good keynote is going to cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. A big name that will draw the crowd. I think that's definitely a payoff.
Makes sense. I'm thinking of like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example.
Gary V's good.
What do you think he cost?
I think it's $30K. I believe.
$30K?
I think
that's not so bad. $30K plus a rider, do you think?
I don't actually know what he costs. I'm just guessing it's $30K. Usually with a lot of them, when you get someone who just released a book, they'll do it if you buy $30K worth of books.
Oh,
because that's how they become #1 bestsellers, right? So like Gary Vee.
I did not know
so
that.
with Gary Vee, like if he releases a book and he wants to be New York Times #1 bestseller, he'll say, I'll speak at your event, tell me how many books you'll buy. And you say, I will buy $30,000 worth of books or whatever and Gary Vee, if you're, I don't know. Like, maybe it's a little bit different than that, right? But it's somewhere along that lines, right? So then you buy the books and then you give the books away to all the attendees because now you've got all those books you got to get rid of, right? So typically whenever you're getting a speaker who's an author, it's a mixture of buy my books off of Amazon or wherever and pay a small speaking fee of some sort.
Interesting.
Right? Yeah.
Man, you're unlocking secrets for me today.
Yeah, I've done a lot of conference marketing, I would say. It's like one of the niches that I've had the most success in.
Interesting. You mentioned courses earlier. Yeah. You build courses. I want to learn, like suppose I wanted to build a course. I wanted to continue receiving money for said courses, sort of like course in a box. Here's your course. You're not, let's assume you're not super involved. What does that look like for you? How do you build a course?
I've been doing courses now for a long time, and I have this belief that information is free, right? And information is becoming more and more accessible, more and more free. If you're trying to sell information, you're competing against Facebook, Google, right? Big companies that are trying to make information more accessible and more free. Your content might be unique in the way that you present it, that sort of thing, but you're also competing against people like we just talked about, Gary Vaynerchuk, who's putting out content all the time that's awesome, amazing, and free, right? So I believe that if you're creating a course and you're hoping, you just want to sell it and people watch the videos, it's almost like an old school idea right now. I don't think that in the next 5 to 10 years that's going to be as successful as it used to be.
What will replace it?
I think what people are going to pay for now, you got to think about like what could people pay for instead of the information. And we believe now what we sell is mentorship, implementation, right?
The follow through.
Yeah, like helping people to actually take action on those things, right? So it's like, yes, there's videos involved, right? So we don't have to talk for, we have 20 hours of training, for example, right? I'm going to talk to every person for 20 hours, get the foundation, get that stuff, right? And then let's talk about it and let's help you actually implement this and become successful with it.
That actually leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they'll buy your course, for example, or they'll buy some other course, or they'll buy a book, they'll read a book, all kinds of different methods of learning, but they fail on the action part. They fail to take that leap from learning and absorbing something to actually taking it to the next step and doing.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? And how, as somebody who's now building courses where you want to be there for that follow through, how do you help people through that?
I got a few ways of kind of answering this. One is like I have to give credit to Eben Pagan, that's where I very first learned about the world of information marketing and how to create courses. I studied with him for a number of years by the time I kind of created my first real course that was really making a change in people's lives, right? And he had this saying. It said, it was this thing called speed of implementation. You guys can Google it, look it up on YouTube, the video's there, right? But basically the concept is that the faster you implement something, the more likely you are to succeed.
Makes sense.
Right? And I've got this concept that says that if you are focused, if you could focus, you are guaranteed to succeed. If you could stay focused. But if you get distracted, you're guaranteed to fail. So then you look at what can distract you, right? What's the distraction to you, right? Your phone going off, you've got, there's one thing that I learned, about like having friction in your life. You've got issues going on in your life. You're fighting with your spouse, your partner, your parents, your brother, your sister. You haven't talked to your best friend for a long time. You got into an argument. That creates friction in your life that can distract you. So it's about eliminating distractions and staying focused and finding out what makes you focused. We were talking earlier how I'm somewhat allergic to coffee, but I still drink it. It helps me stay focused, right? I guess it's one of my...
What other things keep you focused?
What I find, the one thing for me that works for me is putting headphones on.
What do you listen to?
I have, I think like 60 gigs of music that I collected since, I don't know, for the last 15 years.
Bit of an audiophile.
I got a large audiophile, and I just listen to that stuff. A lot of gangster rap in there.
With all the lyrics, that doesn't
I know, I just zone out. I mean, it's just the rhythm, it's the beat, it gives you a feeling, I don't like the song, I hit next or whatever, right? But I find I put my headphones on, I'm drinking a coffee or whatever, or even just some hot water or whatever, and I just work and I just, go. There's other, tips and tools, I met one guy who was doing this, I can't remember what you call it, but there was an app he had on an iPad. You work for 45 minutes and you take a 15-minute break or something like that. Or you work for 50 minutes.
It's like an Apple timer almost.
The
Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, it was something like that. He was doing this thing. He was like super productive. He was a really cool Phil, right? So he would just like do this thing, and he was like, I always had this iPad going. So the iPad was going, I knew not to talk to him, and then he had a 10-minute break, and then we'd have a discussion, right? So whatever works. I mean, I took productivity courses because the first productivity thing that I did was I read the 4-Hour Work Week. Right? Anyone who hasn't read that should totally read that. Then I got a course, Eben Pagan again, Wake Up Productive.
How do you spell the last name?
Eben Pagan?
Yeah, what's the last?
Pagan.
Oh, simple. Okay.
Yeah. So, Wake Up Productive was like totally life-changing for me. Just learning.
How so?
Man, I can go on about Wake Up. I don't want to make
No,
this.
I want it. This is helpful for me.
I would just say, somebody wants to learn about it, just look up Wake Up Productive. There's a lot of videos online right now. He's got Wake Up Productive 2.0 now. Not an expensive
Give me one
course.
thing you do when you wake up.
I don't follow Wake Up Productive now anyways. It's more about, I mean, one thing that was from Wake Up Productive was, okay, this is actually something I do, is that, what you eat is going to affect, how you feel, right? Yeah. And, obviously, right? I actually did learn that in that course, but I mean, it's kind of obvious to me now, right? So if you start your day by eating something unhealthy, right? Like if you have like a piece of chocolate first thing in the morning and you're just nibbling on it while you're making your breakfast, you're gonna crave unhealthy things for the rest of the day. And the more unhealthy things you have, the more that you're gonna feel tired. You know what I mean? So I start the morning by having juice, right? But I'm juicing vegetables, no sugars, and that's the first thing that I have every morning. Or I'll have a bunch of water. I also drink bulletproof coffee, right? I've been doing intermittent fasting, where basically you try to push your breakfast as late as possible. So I'm usually not eating breakfast until 2 o'clock, have a snack in the middle of the day, and then I eat my dinner around 7 o'clock. So I find I'm super productive in the morning, but as soon as I eat a big meal, then I'm tired, right? So even my breakfast, I started actually eating half of it at 2 o'clock and the other half around 4 o'clock. So that's being my snack. And I'm having organic eggs.
You
and
got this down to a science.
Yeah, so it's like what you eat makes a huge difference in your productivity. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's, a major thing that's gonna keep you focused, right? I don't have any notifications on my phone. It doesn't make any noise. It's always on silent. And, even if you send me a text message, it doesn't show up on my lock screen. I have to open my phone and see that I have a message, right? Stuff like that. My phone will ring if it's not on silent, but when it's on silent, it doesn't vibrate. Right? There's no notifications on my computer. There's all the sounds on Facebook that Facebook makes, right? I've had it off since they started making sounds, but sometimes I see other people on their computer and then you hear a little ding sound every time you get a notification on Facebook. I'm like, why don't you turn that off? That's crazy that you let that distract you, right? Because you're working on something, you're writing something, or whatever you're doing, and you get that dinging sound. You're like, oh, let's go see what's going on there. And it's like, oh, butterfly, right? So. Yeah, just eliminate distractions from your life, right? Like those sounds that your email makes or whatever, you want to get rid of all that stuff. So
close your tabs.
Yeah.
Just have exactly what you're working on open, nothing else.
You want to see when you're looking at your day and how it's going, are you in active mode or reactive mode, right?
What's the difference?
Active mode is like you are, going in, you're just like, I got to do this, I'm going to get that done, I'm going to do this, right? Reactive mode is I'm responding to emails, I'm picking up the phone, who just texted me, right? So I'm reacting to other people's actions versus me taking action and me controlling my day. So anytime I'm having,
ask yourself.
Yeah, every time I'm having a day that I'm not feeling, productive, well, sometimes I'll just say, this is a reactive day. Let's just continue it as a reactive day. Let's respond to everyone. I got a lot of people messaging me or whatever. So cool, that's a reactive day, or first maybe my morning is going to be active and then my afternoon will be reactive, right? If I'm feeling a little bit out of it, whatever, I'll just do a reactive day, right? But you want to be conscious for me anyways, it helps me to be conscious about where I'm at in my day in that kind of way.
I feel like you could probably go on about this for absolutely ever.
Yeah, I haven't watched Wake Up. I watched Wake Up Productive in 2009, and I would recommend. I think the course sells for $300. Yeah. I'm not an affiliate or anything like that, but I would recommend it. I would recommend it. Yeah.
I'm going to jump around a little bit. There's a couple more questions I want to ask you. You recently rebranded Web Friendly.
Yeah.
I went through something similar not too long ago, and I don't know exactly where I went wrong, but I hate my website. I hate it. Just every time I think about it, it makes me mad because I spent a lot of time on it and I spent a lot of money on it, and I totally goofed. So I've looked at some of the things that you've changed since starting your rebrand, and I think you're still sort of in the middle of it.
We haven't launched a new site yet. Yeah.
What have you learned so far, I guess? What should we do? What should we not do?
Okay, so the first thing is I spent the first 8 years of my business as a direct response marketer, right? I want to do this marketing in this campaign. We're going to measure this campaign and the amount of money that it brought in, right? If I run an ad, we're spending $1, we're making $2 or $5 or $10 or whatever, right? Direct response marketing, and I was always growing up in the direct marketing world, right? That's most internet marketers are. then I started looking at people with great brands, right? I was actually at a conference and I was listening to a guy named Perez, and shout out to Perez because he was really one that sparked this.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the power of a great brand and how when you have a great brand, you could demand higher prices and how you're getting more customers and you build a tribe and like, he had this whole presentation about it, right? And, I'd been thinking about it before, right? Anyway, so I ended up contacting him, getting him on the phone. He spent like a good hour or 2 hours with me almost. And, one thing he told me was, he was like, who's, an online, influencer, what's the first word that comes to, and he was just like naming some people and saying, what's the first, what do you think of when you think of, what do you think of when you hear Gary Vaynerchuk?
Energetic.
Energetic? But
No
what would you think is his brand? Put into a word.
Generous.
Generosity?
Sure.
Cool. What about like Tim Ferriss?
Experimenting.
Experiments? Okay. What about Ty Lopez?
I don't know. I just think social media.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So he did that to me as well, right? With Gary Vaynerchuk, I said hustle, right? That was
a
his
good
word,
one.
right? That was his word, right? Tim Ferriss, productivity, because I see a 4-hour work week, but he does other stuff. Lewis Howes. Yeah, I think Lewis Howes is a great brand. Yeah, but recently he changed because now he just has this new book, the Mask of Masculinity, right? Yeah. So now you're going to think masculinity. Before it was greatness.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right?
Yeah, School of Greatness.
Lewis Howes is like great branding and stuff. It was really good. So yeah, then we went to like Ty Lopez, right? Which is somebody who I follow. Like I'm very entertained by Ty Lopez, right? But I was always interested how so many people like didn't like Ty Lopez. Like I'd always seen him and I'd never had a problem with him. And like so many people just don't like Ty Lopez. I didn't understand why or whatever, right?
Why do you think?
I think because his brand is not concrete. I don't know, and I mean, he knows a lot about marketing. I don't want to be like, I'm not totally certain, but I feel like there's a lot of this like cars and girls and all that kind of stuff, which is all great. It's like all as a young person, like you think that's what you want.
Labor, perhaps?
Yeah, you think that's what you want, but there's more to it, and I think he knows that too. He's a smart guy, right? But I think in terms of like a brand, like a distinct message. Yeah.
I think when you think of Ty, you often think of just excess.
Of what?
Excess.
Excess?
Yeah, Lamborghinis, mansions, blah, blah, blah.
I think there's just a lot going on. He's got a lot
I think there's so much more to him.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've listened to a lot of his stuff, and he is not dumb. Like, he is an intelligent, well-read, well-spoken dude.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
So where were we? We're talking about branding.
Yeah. No, like for me, like I really I appreciate him a lot.
Sure.
And so I'm not trying to like bash whatever. But yeah, I just think that in terms of the branding, I think that there's still work to be done. You even look at his website. I mean, Storytime.
Okay. What about you? So in your rebranding, how did you think about it?
There's one side is like your brand narrative and your story, which is something that it's not something you're just going to decide on and be like, okay, that's it, right? It's like we have more clarity on it. We know kind of what we want to move towards, but it's something we're going to develop over the next 1 year, 2 years, and beyond. And it's something that could develop and change, right?
So I think again, those early steps.
Yeah. So I have more clarity around kind of what that. I have more clarity around my why, my philosophy, all that kind of stuff, what I believe in, what I stand for, myself and as well as the company, right? But the other side was the visual identity, which originally I was really trying to find.
What does that mean?
The visual identity is like, for me, I wanted to create a design. I'm really into design, right? And I wanted to have a design that would have like notoriety. Someone would see it, they would see our ad or they would see our marketing and they would, without us even saying web friendly, they would know that's like a web friendly thing. Like when you look at like people who do like, jokes around like an Apple ad,
sure,
right? Like there's a certain style to how they do Apple commercials that if someone else were to rip it off, you'd be like, they're trying to be like Apple. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
Like that kind of, that's what I'm trying to create is like that side of it, right? And so we were doing this whole thing with this logo thing, and I had this vision of web friendly, and I wanted someone to be able to see the name and just kind of like know, somewhat just by saying web friendly and with the logo, whatever, have an idea of what we do, right? So I had this idea of having a hashtag and trying to make a hashtag friendly, right? So we worked with the designer and so on and went through lots of iterations on it. Designer doesn't like me very much anymore. I'm a very picky person. But anyways, we came up with something called the smile tag, which is our new logo, right? So we used to have a bee, and the bee. There was a whole story. I won't get into the why I chose the bee in the first place, but anyways, the bee's going away because we never really.
Bees are friendly.
Bees sting you, and they, that sort of thing. But
wasps are the bad ones.
there was this thing I saw a TED talk, and I cannot find this TED talk again. I saw a TED talk about how bees work like a social network works. Something about the network effect and all this stuff. But I was never able to really fully explain it. But that was my idea around it. But because I never explained it, it just looked like we had a mascot that was a bee.
Are there any resources that you would point people towards if, like perhaps me, for example, towards if I'm planning to do a rebrand, which God knows I should?
Well, I tell you, okay, so with a rebrand, you got like your visual identity, right? But
where does that stuff come from? Did you read about that stuff somewhere?
With visual identity, I mean, that's where you're hiring a designer. You got to try to find the right designer, right?
Gotcha.
I talked to a lot of designers. I mean, there was people who, they were, wanted, $30,000, $40,000. And I was close. I was almost going to spend $30,000, $40,000 on the rebrand, right? And then I talked to some people. They're like, "You're crazy. You don't spend $30,000, $40,000. You can get this up for less," right? So, anyways, I ended up finding a great guy. Did it for a lot less. I'm someone who's like, I joke that like I'm a designer too. I just can't use Photoshop, right? So yeah, the designer. I don't know if he likes me that much, but we try to be friends.
I think at the end of the day, I think you're right. I need to find somebody who that's what they do. They do branding. That's what they do.
And there was a lot, Like this designer that I ended up finding, like he knew a lot about which colors work and why.
Sure.
Like we ended up going with
any of that stuff.
Yeah, we went with like this blue, this Egyptian blue. So he's like, you give me the logos, whatever, and I finally approved a logo. And then we were going with the color, and like, okay, we're gonna go with blue, and he goes Egyptian blue. And I go, why did you choose Egyptian blue? And I looked up like colors of blue, and I was trying to figure out why he said Egyptian blue, right? And then he gave me this like long, elaborate answer, right? And I was like, I don't know, it was like middle of the night, whatever, and I was just like, I don't understand anything you've said, but fine, I approve, right? Something like that, right? So anyways, then later on, I was talking to my girlfriend about it, and I was like, look at this long message this designer sent. I was like, this is ridiculous, all the explanation he gave me on the color blue. And then she read it, and then she saw my response. She's like, Matt, that was so rude of you. She's like, how could you talk to him like that? He put in so much effort to give you this answer, da, da, da. And then I reread it, and I was like, oh my God, I was so rude. I was like, it's true. Like, he gave me like a really elaborate answer, right? So it turns out Egyptian blue is great because you can go to like a printer and say, I want to get this stuff printed. It's Egyptian blue. He knows what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very popular color of blue. So that was one interesting thing. I mean, there's other colors of blue that also work in that kind of way, but Egyptian blue is a very classic kind of color. So there was things like that really help, when you have a really good visual designer. That's going to be very helpful. But the other part of it too is the kind of content that you want to put out. Like, doing this is awesome, right? But you can also repurpose this. Like, for example, we could have been broadcasting live on Facebook right now, right?
I would have shared it, actually.
Yeah, you would have shared it. I would have shared it. We would have probably had 30, 40 people watching this right now. We could have taken questions from the audience. You could have broadcast on YouTube at the exact same time, right? You could be broadcasting on Periscope,
Would you just have phones set up? Is that
Instagram.
probably what you'd have going?
What's that?
Would you just have like a couple phones set up?
You can do it a few ways. You can use Wirecast. You can broadcast to multiple places at the same time.
Wirecast?
Yeah, Wirecast. But Facebook's API has a limitation that will only broadcast to Facebook. And I'm guessing Instagram is going to be the same thing. I actually haven't tried it on that. Otherwise, you just get a secondary phone, an older phone, an iPad or an iPod or whatever.
Next time.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's just one example. So you got a Facebook Live, okay? You got this. Do you upload this as a podcast or just a YouTube?
Yeah. So we do break it up. Like, we repurpose it as much as we can. So we take the video, then we'll break that down into smaller clips. And we're thinking, like, right now we're doing 2 to 3 minute clips. We'll probably take that in the future and break that down into 1 minute clips for Instagram. We take screenshots, photos, we share those around. Blog posts come of it.
You get someone to like transcribe this and then turn this into like, not a transcription, right? But actually taking the content, have somebody actually type it out, read it, and then like, redo it as like a blog post.
Yeah, I think we do both. So we have the transcription, which would go with the YouTube video. So it would actually go in YouTube. Yeah. And then we would, and I think it actually might even go on the podcast page.
Yeah.
But then we take the content, we actually make a blog post as well.
Yeah.
So we do try and get as much value out of it as possible, because the production isn't cheap, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I would recommend anyone doing. It's just like, Yeah, because especially if you set it up, if you did a Facebook Live, you would know that, for example, you're doing a Facebook Live every Friday at noon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now you're committed. You got to be there every Friday at noon. People know they're expecting you,
Social
right?
commitment.
It creates social commitment. When I used to do Internet Masterminds every Monday at 7, I had to have a speaker every Monday at 7, right? So yeah, I think that's why.
As Danny knows, I'm terrible at that.
Yeah, that's why I would recommend the. Even when we were organizing this, you were like, "Can you do it on a Wednesday?" And I was like, "How about a Friday?" I was like, so it was a little bit tight. But if you had a show that was at, Wednesdays at 2 or whatever, then that's it. You're just like, "Hey, show's at Wednesdays at 2. Can you make it?"
Be there, be square.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man. Yeah. Well, this part of the show, I pretty much exhausted my questions. So this part of the show is sort of open to you to plug whatever it is you want these folks to take a peek at, to share, to whatever.
Sure. If you guys want a free course, we've got a course called 4 Steps to Social Media Profits. You go to webfriendly.com/bootcamp, and you're going to learn how to grow your audience, engage your audience, convert your audience, and influence your audience. It's about 3.5 hours of training inside there. It's all completely free. And after that, check out our blog. We're going to be publishing content. We're going to probably do 1 to 3 posts per week at first, and slowly increase that as we find more ways of getting more traffic. And all that content is actually content that's coming out of our paid courses. So we're trying to give the information for free so you guys can learn and implement. And if there's a time that you feel you need a mentor, you need a bit more support and help, that's when you can reach out to us and learn about our programs.
What about social media? Where can people find you on social media?
We're /webfriendly everywhere.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, that's it for me. Thank you very much. I really, really, really appreciate it. I've been meaning to have you on the show for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to finally pull the trigger on that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I hope that you learned something today. And I'm looking forward to bringing the next speaker on episode 42. Thanks.